This is Michelin's e-Primacy all-season tire, and this is the 7th tire I have tested on my YouTube channel to show which tires are most efficient for electric vehicles. Now, Michelin has previously come out with the Michelin Pilot Sport EV, and now they've come out with the e-Primacy all-season tire, and you may be wondering to yourself, well, what's the difference? The big difference is the Michelin Pilot Sport EV is meant for summer driving. This is an all-season tire. So I'm going to cover all the technology packed into it. And right now I'm going to pop up on my screen which tire has been most efficient. Now, keep in mind with that chart, still very relevant information because you can see what's most efficient, but that is for the old Model Y. In today's video, I'm going to be testing this tire on the new Model Y and comparing it to the Hankook Ion Evo that comes from the factory to see if this is a viable option. So here's what I love so far. This does have the foam inner liner here, so you have that. Now, one thing I've always loved about Michelin tires is this right here. This is their Velour Premium Touch, and they achieve this. It feels like really soft leather or Alcantara almost, but they use a laser to change how this actually looks, and it gives it a really premium aesthetic on the exterior of the tire, which I really like. So that is what that's called. Now, what's really cool here is they even have these little grooves built into the tire. I've seen other companies do that. I think Bridgestone does it and calls it their Quiet Track technology. So this helps reduce vibrations and noise in the tire. You also have your wear indicators here. These are 1.6 millimeters high, giving you some indication of how the tires are wearing, and they have it both on the outside and the inside, so that is cool. And this tire is meant for snow, it's meant for wet, it's meant for summer, and they're even seeing tests of these getting 13,000 miles more of the internal testing that they've done. And I looked at the testing that they did, and they tested it actually against the Continental tire that they are shipping with new Model Ys. So they didn't test it against some nonsense tire. They tested it against the one Tesla developed with Continental. I also like the detail here where it says Michelin on the inner lining there. And on top of them using this technology to keep it quiet, they have the foam inner liner as well. So this tire is probably going to be extremely quiet. We will do a sound test. We'll do an efficiency test at 70 miles per hour and an efficiency test at 80 miles per hour to see how that stacks up against the tire that currently comes on the vehicle. This tire is also the same dimensions as the factory spec tire on the new Model Y with the 20-inch 2.0 Helix wheels. So let's go get this installed and start the testing. All right, folks, there she is. And also, how's that for a sighting? Someone bought one. Man, these things look needy on here. So these are great, again, for all season, especially snow, wet, all that type of stuff. So we are going to do some efficiency testing. But before I do the efficiency testing, I am going to break them in a little bit. I'm going to try and get 500 or 600 miles on them to get them broken in so we can be as efficient as possible. Because when you first get tires like this, they're going to be the most inefficient because there's the most amount of tread. And then over time, they will actually become more efficient. 5, 10,000 miles, etc. But as far as the look of them, you know, one thing people are interested in is the lip. Do you get some protection on the rim? You do get a little bit of protection, but not a ton. And actually, Vion just sent me wheel covers for this. So if you're worried about curbing your wheels, I do have a solution now. But man, they look, has a really cool look to them. It's a more like aggressive, like almost like, it's not an off-road tire, but it has more of that look to it. And I got all this done at Wheel Specialists in Tempe, Arizona. So this is where I come to get everything. They just do a really nice job making sure you're fully taken care of, and they work on a lot of high-end vehicles and custom wheel configurations. So I recommend them. I paid for it. It's not sponsored or anything. So that's that. But yeah, the Michelin e-Primacies just kind of, so I just love new tire day, you know? And I know this is testing, but man, these are just beautiful. So 255/40 are 20s. They have the acoustics in them as we showed you earlier with the foam, and we are mounted, balanced, and ready to go. But they really do, they look great. Now, here are the results of this test that you've been waiting for. So as a reminder, these tests are run on the same exact part of the highway. They're run in chill mode and they're run with the air conditioning off. So I did 3 runs at 70 miles per hour, 3 runs at 80 miles per hour, and we did 0 to 60 and decibel reading tests. So the first part of the test was 0 to 60 runs. So I did 3 runs, which led to times of 4.23 seconds, 4.15 seconds, and 4.16 seconds for an average of 4.18 seconds. For comparison, the stock hand-cooked tires returned an average of 4.11 seconds. So in that testing segment, really no different. After this, I did a sound test at 50 miles per hour, which returned 52 to 54 decibels, which is the same it's been for almost every single tire that I have tested. And then we did this again at 70 miles per hour, and we got 53 to 55 decibels, which was slightly quieter than previous tests simply because this was the new Model Y and the sound deadening in the car is much better. Now the part that you all came for, and that's the efficiency test. So we did 3 runs at 70 miles per hour and 3 runs at 80 miles per hour, and we tested directly against the 19-inch crossflow wheels with the stock Continental tires, and then we tested the stock 20-inch Helix 2.0 wheels with the hand-cooked tires, and then I swapped out the tires on my Model Y. The 20-inch Helix with stock tires got an average of 228 watt-hours per mile and 4.6 kilowatt-hours used on our 20-mile loop at 70 miles per hour. At 80 miles per hour, you lose 18% efficiency, bringing your watt-hours per mile to 276 and 5.62 kilowatt hours used on the exact same route. So it's a big difference when people complain about losing range. If you go 80 miles per hour, you lose almost 20% of your range. So just something to keep in mind. For comparison, the 19-inch crossflow wheels delivered 216 watt hours per mile, and that is 6% more efficient than the 20-inch wheels. So if you were wondering, in the real world, you get 6% more range by going with the 19-inch crossflow wheels in comparison to these 20s. The crossflow wheels at 80 miles per hour returned 257 watt hours per mile and 5.24 kilowatt hours used. So now these new Michelin e-Primacies at 70 miles per hour were 4.87 kilowatt hours used and 239 watt hours per mile, which was 5% less efficient than the hand cooks that come on the vehicle. And then at 80 miles per hour, you're looking at 290 watt hours per mile and 5.88 kilowatt hours used, which also came out to 5% less efficient than the stock hand cooks, so they were consistent. Now, to make this all very clear for you, here's what that means if you were to run the battery to 0. So assuming this has a 79 kilowatt hour usable pack in it, that's a reasonable number for the usable pack size in this. All of these numbers are at 70 miles per hour. Remember, the air conditioning is off in these tests. The reason I turn air conditioning off is to get rid of deficiencies, because if I set auto at 70 and it's hotter outside than it is another day, then it's going to use more energy. So I suffer. It was 110 or like right around 100 when I did all of this testing. So it was pretty terrible on the inside, but you have to be consistent with the tests. The 19-inch crossflow with the Continentals was 363.4 miles of range. The 20-inch Helix with the hand cooks was 346.5 miles of range. And the 20-inch Helix with the Michelin e-Primacies was 329.9 miles of range. Again, 70 miles per hour. No air conditioning. So I think this is a solid tire. I think it's interesting they make it for hybrids and gas cars and the tire's all the same. And surprisingly, it's still almost just as efficient as the tire that Hankook developed hand in hand with Tesla. Now, if you want to see some Tesla accessories I've been using for a while on my brand new Model Y, click this video right here. That will be helpful to you. And also thank you to Michelin for sending me this set of tires. They sent me this set of tires and just said, run the test that you've always run. And I really appreciate them for just letting me do the testing and then presenting the results. Michelin is obviously a top tier company when it comes to making tires. So thank you to Michelin.